1. The 3 wealth tiers revealed. You think the You Are Rich list is just a collection of people who hold XRP? Think again. It's not a group. It's a hierarchy. It's not about joining by us. It's about rising through levels. There are 3 wealth tiers inside this system. Each one reveals not just how much XRP you hold, but how you think, how you act, and how deeply you believe. Most people never even realize this exists. They buy a little XRP, hold for a while, and call themselves investors. But they never ask the deeper question, where do I actually stand? Here's the truth. Tier 1, the starter, where most people stop. Tier 2, the convicted, where strategy is born. Tier 3, the elite, the real XRP rich list. And every step up the ladder changes not just your wealth, but your identity. Because this isn't about flexing, it's about freedom. And freedom has a price. That price is clarity, patience, and the willingness to keep climbing when others quit. This video isn't just about information. It's a mirror to show you exactly where you are. And once you see it, you can either settle or decide to rise. 2. Tier 1, the starter, 1,009,999 XRP. You've made the first move. You said yes to XRP. You're no longer on the sidelines. You've entered the game. But let's be honest, you're still in Tier 1. This is the level where most people stop. They accumulate just enough to feel in, but not enough to be secure, confident, or unshakable. Tier 1 holders are the most vulnerable. They believe, but they're still checking Twitter for reassurance. They're excited, but they panic when the chart turns red. They dream of wealth, but they haven't truly committed to it yet. Why? Because 1,000 to 9,999 XRP is the beginning, not the goal. You're inside the You Are Rich list, technically, but emotionally, you're still outside, still looking for proof, still wondering if you made the right move, still doubting when it gets quiet. This is the tier where most people get stuck forever, because they think they've done enough. But enough for what? A vacation? Or a legacy? If you stay here, you'll always feel like you're almost there, but never arrive. So ask yourself, do I want to survive the game or master it? Tier 1 is the door, but it's not the destination. The real journey starts when you choose to go beyond comfort and reach for Tier 2, the convicted. 3. Tier 2, the convicted, 10,000 is 99,999 XRP. Welcome to Tier 2, where everything changes. You didn't just buy XRP, you sacrificed to build this position. You made real decisions, skipped things, shifted priorities, stayed focused. You've moved past dabbling. You've entered the realm of conviction. Tier 2 is where belief becomes strategy. You're not just watching prices, you're planning. You've got a number in mind. You've got a time horizon. You understand this isn't about today. It's about transformation. You're not elite yet, but you're no longer average. You don't need validation. You've held through storms, SEC headlines, crypto winters, and silence. And you're still here. That makes you dangerous. To doubt, to fear, to excuses. Most people never reach this level because it requires what they're unwilling to give. Patience over hype. Belief without applause. Accumulation without showing off. But here's the truth. Tier 2 is where momentum builds, where you separate from the crowd, not in money, but in mindset. You start to feel different. You start to think longer. You stop reacting and start positioning. You've got the battle scars, and you're using them as fuel. The only question now is, are you willing to keep climbing? Because above Tier 2 lies the rarest territory in crypto. Tier 3, the elite. 4. Tier 3, the elite, 100,000 plus XRP. This isn't just another level. This is the summit. Tier 3 is where the true XRP rich list begins. It's not crowded, it's not loud, it's quiet and powerful. Less than 0.01% of XRP wallets ever reach this point. That's not an estimate. That's on-chain reality. It's not just about money. It's about mindset, mastery, and movement with purpose. Tier 3 holders don't react to the market. They lead it. They're not asking, what if? They're executing plans forged years ago. They've seen dips that made others panic. They've heard the FUD, the lawsuits, the silence, and they held. Not because they're stubborn, but because they're certain. These people aren't just investors. They're architects of their future. They treat XRP not as a bet, but as a vehicle to reshape legacy. They don't chase trends. They build positions. They don't flinch, because their conviction is unshakable. To get here, they didn't rely on hype. They relied on discipline, vision, and years of quiet accumulation. They play in six-figure territory, not to show off, but to buy back time, freedom, and generational power. If you're in Tier 3, you don't need applause. You know what you hold. And soon, the world will know it too. 5. Most people get stuck in Tier 1. Let's be brutally honest. Most people never leave Tier 1. Why? Because they believe 1,000 XRP is enough. They tell themselves they're in the game. But deep down, they're playing not to lose, not to win. It's a mindset of survival, not strategy. They say things like, I'll just hold this little bag and see what happens. At least I'm better than those who didn't buy. If XRP goes to $1,000, I'll be rich anyway. But that's not belief. That's delusion. They don't build. They don't plan. They don't study cycles, taxes, or timelines. They just sit and wait and wonder. And when the market drops, they're the first to panic, first to sell, first to disappear. Because Tier 1 without vision is a trap. They never climb, not because they can't, but because they think they don't need to. They're still looking for a shortcut, still hoping XRP alone will save them, without them ever stepping up. Meanwhile, the XRP rich list keeps rising, and the gap between belief and reality keeps growing. So if you're in Tier 1, own it. But don't settle, because the real wealth starts where comfort ends. 6. Each tier has a cost. You think you're just buying XRP? No. You're buying time. You're buying discipline. You're buying the ability to stay calm while everyone else panics. Because every tier inside the You Are Rich list has a cost. And it's never just money. Tier 1 costs you attention. You're watching every candle. Tier 2 costs you comfort. You're sacrificing to accumulate. Tier 3 costs you ego. You hold quietly, without applause. The higher you go, the less validation you get, but the more conviction you must carry. And that's why this isn't called a club or a group. It's a list, a filtered, earned, proven list. There's no application, no handshake, no hype. Only actions and account balances speak. Every wallet that moves up a tier tells a story of patience through FUD, of clarity through confusion, of vision that didn't flinch. You don't get promoted by luck. You rise through intention and endurance. So ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price of the next tier? Not in dollars, but in focus, faith, and fire? Because everyone wants elite results, but only the few are willing to carry the weight of elite responsibility. That's why the XRP rich list is powerful. Not because it's big, but because it costs something to belong. 7. Where are you now? Pause the hype. Forget the dreams for a second. Now look at your wallet, not the vision board, not the YouTube comments, not the price predictions, just your XRP balance and your daily behavior. Be honest. What tier are you really in? Are you still holding 1,000 XRP and calling it a future? Or have you stepped into deeper waters, sacrificed comfort to accumulate? Are you executing a strategy or just watching and hoping? This moment matters more than any tweet or trend, because clarity is the seed of change. Most people lie to themselves. They say they're in crypto. They say they believe. But when things get hard, they disappear. That's not conviction. That's cosplay. So again, what tier have you actually earned? Not what you plan to do next year. Not what you meant to do, but what you've already built in numbers, mindset, and actions. Because until you're honest about where you are, you'll keep drifting in circles. The You Are Rich list isn't about pretending. It's about progress with precision. And the first step to rising is knowing exactly where you stand. 8. What tier changes your life? Let's make one thing clear. The goal isn't the same for everyone. But the difference between dreaming and arriving is always strategy. For some people, 10,000 XRP is life-changing. It could pay off debt, fund retirement, buy time with family. For others, that number is 100,000 XRP or more. Why? Because they're not just thinking about income, they're thinking generational impact. They're not chasing quick wins. They're building permanent escape velocity from average forever. But here's the key. No matter what your number is, your plan must be intentional. This isn't a slot machine. It's not hold and hope. It's decide, design, and execute. Comfort says, maybe this is enough. Vision says, what level actually transforms my future? One keeps you small, the other forces you to rise. So ask yourself, what tier would truly change your life? What's the number that creates freedom, not just excitement? And what would it take, monthly, weekly, mentally, to get there? Don't aim for comfort. Comfort is how people stay stuck. Aim for transformation, because that's what the XRP Rich List is really about. 9. You can climb fast. They told you it would take 10 years, that you had to wait for the perfect moment, that wealth comes slowly, painfully, eventually. But that's only true if you stay passive. The truth, you can climb fast, if you move with focus, income, and conviction. People save for vacations, but not for freedom. They spend on distractions, but not accumulation. They wait for a pump, instead of building their position with purpose. You don't need luck. You need a plan, and the fire to follow through. What if you redirected your spending? What if you added just a few $100s a month? What if you stopped chasing hype coins and started stacking with intention? In 1 year, you could climb from Tier 1 to Tier 2. In 2, maybe even Tier 3. Not because XRP moons, but because you did the work while others waited. The problem isn't time. It's hesitation. And hesitation has robbed more people than any bear market. So if you're serious about joining the XRP Rich List, don't say someday, say now. Because wealth favors the decisive, not the distracted. 10. There's a seat waiting for you. The XRP Rich List isn't closed. It isn't crowded. It isn't impossible. It's just quiet. Because those who belong don't make noise. They build silently, accumulate quietly, win intentionally. You won't see them bragging on Twitter. They're not in every hype space. They're too busy executing plans while the crowd chases distractions. But here's what matters. There's still a seat open, and it might have your name on it. No one's stopping you. No gatekeepers. No special invitation. Just one question. Will you rise? Will you stop settling for survival and start stacking for legacy? Will you pick your tier, make a real plan, and start climbing with everything you've got? Because this list isn't about being lucky. It's about being deliberate, focused, different. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to break cycles, to lead your family into freedom, to buy back your time, and rewrite your name in the financial story of this decade. So make your move. You were born for this. The seat is open. The path is clear. Now climb.